Be really intentional about putting a team together.
Who's in?
Crawled out of the pound and started screaming.
How good is Joey Bosa?
Herbert, rolling, looking, throwing, end zone, touchdowns, intercepted. Derwin James. Derwin was there.
You got to be on a mission every day in the NFL. But even more than that, you got to be on a mission together.
Great hands, Keenan Allen.
The Los Angeles Chargers select Rashawn Slater.
Asante Samuel Jr.
Stop! Oh, I'm stopping y'all boys. I can't catch it.
Intercepted, picked up by Michael Davis.
Explosion, explosiveness from Eckler.
There's RP4, he blew that up, didn't he? It is picked off. Nasir Adderley. 50-50 ball is 100%. Mike Williams.
Ochena, Nwosu, and that will end it.
Time to bolt up.
3, 2, 1.
This is Chargers Unleashed Podcast. Here are your hosts, Dan Wolkenstein and Jake Hefner.
Welcome to another edition of Chargers Unleashed. Jake Hefner and Dan Wolkenstein here with you from the LAFB Network. Today's show, of course, is being brought to you by UFC Fit in Temecula, Golden Road Brewery, TickPick, and MyBookie. Wherever you are finding us, whether it is on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Spotify, wherever you ingest us, give us a like and a subscribe and a follow. Happy that you guys are all here. Dan, I got nothing negative to say. I know it's been a little while since we've done this show, but it's Christmas time. It's the giving time of the year. It's Christmas Eve, to be more specific. I'm happy. I'm happy today. I'm happy that we're doing this show. We have a big game this weekend, very pivotal for the Chargers. You know what? Let me backtrack and say I will start this show off in a good mood. Okay, as the time progresses, it could get cranked up a couple notches there.
Okay.
So, yeah, even that initial sentence didn't feel completely right coming out of my mouth. So I had to backtrack there just a little bit. But Dan, Merry Christmas. How the hell are you, sir?
Merry Christmas to you. I am good. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
Weird.
Doing
This is
okay,
it's
like I
weird
said.
hearing you in this like jolly mood. I'm not used to it. Welcome to Chargers Unleashed. For folks who are watching, tuning in live, what's going on? Happy Texans week. As always, feel free to comment in. Let's have some fun. Engage with us with your questions, concerns, comments. We will do our best to bring those in throughout the episode. Today's a big one. We've got huge, understated, huge matchup against the Houston Texans that the Chargers cannot afford to lose and should not. This should be very similar to the Giants game, if we're being honest. Huge matchup. Chargers 8-6 going up against the Texans, who are fighting for draft picks at this point. Whole lot of bad on that team, whole lot of good on our team. COVID has kind of reared its ugly head the last few weeks in the NFL.
Oh, yeah, for both
which
teams.
is changing things a bit. But with that being said, Jake, the Chargers are currently 8-6. I believe they're now in the 6th seed. Is that correct?
That's correct.
How are we feeling about Chargers playoffs? I know a whole bunch of teams are in the playoff. I think 27 teams are still in the NFL playoff hunt, which is crazy.
It's insane.
How are we feeling about the overall state of the Chargers right now going into this week's matchup?
Last week was a hard week for the Chargers outside of what took place against the Kansas City Chiefs. The ball definitely didn't roll your way. Nobody else was doing you any favors. New England lost to Indianapolis. The Bengals ended up winning. The Ravens also lost. So you became in this really tight conundrum of now possibly being in the picture to right on the fringe of being in the teams of being in the hunt. So nobody really did you any favors. Kansas City got everything that they wanted last week. They now currently sit atop in the number 1 seed. Before the Sunday games took place, the Chargers were in the 5th seed. But at this point right now, Dan, and we talked about this before the Chiefs game, you know, if the Chargers were to lose, best case scenario that you could hope for in this final 4-game stretch, including the Kansas City game, is you go 3-1. 3 games remain in the 2021 NFL season. The Chargers control their collective destiny. I do not want to drop another single game this season, and realistically, you shouldn't. You have the Houston Texans, the Denver Broncos, and the Las Vegas Raiders to close out the season. 3 very winnable games for this team. I do not want any help from any other teams for us to back in to the playoffs if we happen to drop an additional game. It's very simple. 3 wins, and you're in.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm being completely honest, I think we can probably go 10-7 and sneak in. I don't want to do that. Like, I don't want to have to rely on tiebreakers, all that jazz. Chargers should go 11-6 and should be fine. And in theory, to your point, they should. They are the better team in all 3 of the upcoming games, especially this one. So, I mean, I don't even know how I want to do this. Like, I will say one thing about last week is I think it gave us a pretty good glimpse into the fight, the resolve, and like the level of competitiveness that this Chargers team has, where the team, and I would honestly say also like the fans, us collectively, like we're not scared of those teams anymore. We're not scared to play the Chiefs. We're not scared to play these juggernauts like we have been in years past for good reason. And I mean, say what you will, we lost the Chiefs in overtime because of a freaking coin flip, and many 4th downs that were right there that we should have had. Joshua Kelly fumbles it in the 1-yard line. We had 2 dropped touchdowns. We just lost it. We were out executed, but at the end of the day, I like us. I like where we're at on Houston, and let's get after it, Jake. So I was going through. It's gonna be fun because I was going through. And much like the Christmas spirit, much like Christmas, I like to color code things as I go through and look at teams good and bad. And both teams are like Christmas, except the Texans have all red for the most part, all bad. Chargers, all green. Collectively, Christmas spirit. But this is a lopsided matchup regardless of who we're going up against. I mean, regardless of what team is there, who's in, who's out, this Houston Texans team is just simply not good. The franchise is not good.
I mean, again, I think the biggest question you have to ask right now, though, is who the hell is going to play this game, whether it's for the Chargers or the Texans? As of this moment right now, I will be very interested to see if this game gets flexed, considering the fact that Houston currently has 21 players in COVID protocol right now. Now, thankfully, this comes the week after the NFL changed their protocols. So everything's still up in the air right now. Same goes for some of the key Chargers players in this game. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. I really don't know what's going to happen. It's probably why nobody's able to give an accurate depiction or preview of this game as of yet. Normally, you're pretty well about what's going to happen, but we have no updates. The only for sure things that we do know is that Joey Bosa will not be playing in this game because he's unvaccinated. That has been deemed absolute. And then Cayman Hall is the other one that will for sure not be playing in this game. But everybody else is completely up in the air, both on the Houston Texans and the Chargers side. So take your pick. Who the hell is going to be fielding footballs out there? Is Easton Stick going to be the backup quarterback finally because Chase Daniel is on the COVID list? Is Larry Roundtree going to be the primary running back? Who the hell knows? No, it's going to be. It's hopefully we get the majority of the playmakers that we need for this team, because we were all holding our collective breaths when you see names like Austin Eckler, Jalen Guyton, and Joe Gaziano, and a couple other key defensive players come down with COVID. So who the hell knows at this point of what's going to happen? That's the first hurdle that really we have to get over in this game.
Yeah,
but go ahead. Yeah, take your pick.
The COVID thing really has taken over the entire NFL, and it's funny because in years past, I shouldn't say funny, but in years past, everyone is like, "Oh, what can go wrong will go wrong for the Chargers, whether it's injuries, sickness, whatever." And like this season, honestly, the Chargers have been, for the most part, very like done pretty well with keeping players healthy. We're already in the 16th week. So like the team's doing pretty good. And COVID has taken every team by storm, it feels like. So sure, the Chargers are getting it, but like every team is getting it. Zepp with the comment, are LT and Merriman available to sign for the Texans game?
I noticed that he said 23, which is a correction of my 21 players as well. So that just goes to show you it's like how many people are on this? How many freaking people are on this damn list? Like how does anybody expect it to feel? Again, I will not be surprised if what the NFL did this past week with the Rams and the Seahawks game and the Cleveland and the Raiders game, that they flex it. I personally don't want that to happen because I don't want to be one of these teams that has to be forced to be put on a short week. But at the same time, knowing the NFL and because they care about their bottom dollar, I wouldn't be surprised.
No. Friend of the show, James Wagner, bolt up, God bless, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you, Mr. James Wagner. Are those your kids there, or are those grandkids? Which are those? Whatever it is, you look like you're in a beautiful spot in your background. Very fortunate. Todd Miller comes in. Very fortunate. It's this week versus this opponent. Look, regardless if the Chargers are healthy or injured or have COVID, Houston's healthy, injured, COVID, the Chargers should roll. And given how it ended last week, this team probably has a nasty taste in its mouth. And I think we'll be ready. One of the things that I love about this new team is I think we can all admit now that Brandon Staley gets his team ready. And like this team and Brandon Staley are connected more so than I think they were ever connected with Anthony Lynn. He was a leader, great person, but as a football IQ acumen in game, there's no comparison. There's absolutely no comparison. So let's get right into it. Jake, the floor is yours. Would you like to do Chargers offense or Chargers defense first to start out?
I'm actually let's go to the Chargers defense first.
Defense. So Chargers defense.
And Dan, this is so
Chargers defense.
This is so good because if you go onto ESPN.com, literally right now, if you do it and you go to the Houston Texans depth chart, because of COVID, it literally has almost 75% of Houston's starting offense with an indicator right next to it as to say out, which at this moment is correct. So players like David Johnson, questionable. Brandon Cook, as of right now, because of COVID protocols, is out for this game. But we don't know. Obviously, that could change in the coming days. Titus Howard, Lane Taylor, Justin Britt, Justin McCray, Titus Howard. I already said Titus Howard. But that just goes to show you as far as what they're dealing with on offense right now. It's just insane.
On a team that was already not very good on offense. Like you have a, if we're being honest, a poor offensive team who now is relying on their third and fourth string offensive players.
Right. Trust me, when we look at the Texans defense here in just a few minutes, it looks just as bad.
It's brutal. It's brutal. So, all right, we talked about the Christmas colors, red and green. So Texans offense, Chargers defense, and then we're going to flip it. We'll do the Chargers offense, Texans defense. Talk a little bit about special teams before we get into our bold game predictions, all that stuff, keys of the game. So, Chargers, we'll start with the Chargers defense. You mentioned that one first. There is some good and some bad. There's red and green and some, let's call it yellow for all intents and purposes. Chargers passing yards allowed, they rank 10th. 6th in hurry percentage. 7th in pass in pressures, 26th in scoring, which is not good, and 29th in rushing yards allowed. But they're not last. Hallelujah. They're not last. Rushing yards per attempt are 28th. Points per game, 27th. Third down percentage, this is the killer, 31st. We cannot get off the field. And then last but not least, fourth down percentage, though, Jake. We are number 1 in getting off the field. So some good, some bad.
People should just go 4 down territory against us, and then we'll
just skip it. Yeah, I agree. which honestly, it looks like that's what we've been banking on. But otherwise, like first downs allowed, we're 13th. Blitz percentage, middle of the road, 15th. Quarterback hits, 16th. Like we're doing pretty good. We just can't get off the damn field, which is the problem of why this team is giving us so many points. Now, if we flip this, and I'm trying to say this with a straight face because, like, I feel for Texans fans. Like, I really do. It's all red. I'm gonna read off these. I'm gonna read off these statistics, Jake. And like, I kept finding. I was like trying to find something that they were good at, and like I couldn't. Yards per game, dead last. Yards per play, dead last. Passing yards per game, 31st. Rushing yards per game, dead last. Sack percentage, 27th. Third down percentage, they're 19th. They're not terrible, but it's definitely not good. Fourth down percentage, 27th. Red zone percentage, 31st. Total sacks allowed, 26th. And scoring, 31st. Their offense sucks. Like, this should be no contest. I mean, I'm not trying to take this team lightly, but what else is there to say?
Don't do it. One of the few bright spots of the Houston Texans offense is a weapon that they could potentially not be with this weekend, and that's Brandon Cooks. Essentially, he is their entire offense. Again, scored twice last week in the Jaguars game. But essentially, the offense, whether it has been through Tyrod Taylor or whether it's been through David Mills, has always run through Brandon Cooks. That's been their most effective offensive weapon. And again, I really feel, as you say, for Texans fans, because Dan, think about this. For a rookie quarterback now for the Texans, now might be without his best offensive weapon, and 4 of his offensive linemen are currently on the COVID list and potentially may not play this week. Like, wow.
It's not good. It's not good. But okay, here's something that I think both. I freaking hope that one of these is broken and it's in the Chargers' favor. I saw this insight. I think it was on NFL.com. Chargers have allowed 21 plus points and over 300 yards in 10 straight games, which is the longest streak in franchise history. 10 straight games have given up more than 21 points, 300 total yards, which not good. Now, best remedy for that is go up against a Texans team who have fewer than 10 points in 6 games this season. They're fewest in any season in team history. So I'm hoping one of those stays true, and it's not the Chargers.
We'll see. We'll see.
If we give up 30 to the Texans, like, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself.
There's something incoherently wrong then if that's the case. Although if there is any team that would possibly be up for accomplishing such a horrible feat, it would be this team. I mean, let's bring it circle down. If there is that potential. Remember we talked about how we were so freaked out about the Giants game and thinking because we had Kansas City on the horizon that it was a possible trap game. Mm-hmm. Under these circumstances, because both teams are reeling right now from COVID, and it's just that any given Sunday still likes to ring true every now and again. This would just be the ultimate insult.
You said it. You said I think you said it preseason.
It was bad enough having to deal with last Thursday and going through that type of a loss. Dan, I'll steal one of your lines. Imagine the euphoria if the Chargers ended up blowing this game to the Houston Texans.
For all my pessimists will be having a field day if that happens. So, Chargers defense.
What we do know about the Chargers defense, sorry to cut you off there, Dan, is that Joey Bosa is not going to play. Chris Rump, we're not sure, is going to play. You're already down Kyle Fackrell to injury. So essentially, Dan, are you ready for this?
Derwin didn't practice today.
Derwin did not practice today. The injury report has not changed that much, or actually didn't change at all as far as the designations go from yesterday. We'll get to that. Your starting edge rush essentially come this Sunday could be Uchenna Nwosu. Ready for it? Ready for it? K9.
Ready. Woo! Right on cue, Nathan Judy has breakout game for K9. Now, real quick, I'll touch on that in a second. Also, I believe standout rookie corner Asante Samuel is going to be back this week. How do you feel about that? Do you think he should
Second day
be?
of him practicing in full. I've been more of the person to err on the side of caution. This is not a game that you need Asante Samuel Jr. for. However, you may have to have him because if we're talking through the COVID protocols here. The COVID's really run rampant through the Chargers secondary this week. So you may have to have him. And thankfully, it looks like Alohi Gilman has put in his second day of full practice as well. So he may be returning on Sunday. Honestly, if it was me, hopefully some of these secondary players are able to be back, because I really don't think that you need Asante Samuel Jr. to beat this Houston Texans team. And I would much rather just give him as much time as possible to just make sure that he's ready to go.
I would love to get him like 15 snaps, 15 to 20. Like, let him get his feet back under him again. Let him get kind of in like football shape a bit. Nothing too crazy. And then like let him come out against the Broncos. Like that would be. But I mean, even that team, I don't know. But I'm excited to see him play regardless. Like, I know he's got to be chomping at the bit to be able to play. So if he plays, like, I'm all for it. Breakout game for K9. So Joey Bosa not in. Fackrell also not playing. Rumpf potentially not playing. So your edge rushers would be like Jerry Tillery, maybe, would be Kenneth Murray.
Probably going to see a little bit more of him on the edge. Yep.
I mean, I feel like that's probably it, other than Nwosu. Kaiser White, obviously, a little bit, if he can. Maybe Drew Tranquil comes off the edge a little bit. Not necessarily as an edge rusher, but blitzes to kind of give that pressure a bit. Yeah, it's going to be tough. It's going to be all hands on deck. But again, like, it's all hands on deck against a Houston Texans team that's absolutely depleted. Like, for all the time that we want to say it's all hands on deck for us, like, it's worse for them. It just is. Todd Miller comes in and he thinks we should sit Derwin. Do you think the Chargers should play Derwin this week?
I personally, I don't think you need Derwin James to win this game.
No, I don't think you need him, but do you think we should sit him?
Yes.
Okay,
I'm not against that.
So you would rather not play Derwin James this game?
No, honestly, I wouldn't, especially for a hamstring injury. And yes, the reports as of late have been better for him as far as what he has said. No further damage was done to his hamstring when he came out during the Chiefs game. He says he's felt better since then. But we all know this philosophy with Derwin. It's like everybody just wrap him up in saran wrap and bubble wrap right now and just keep him healthy. The last thing you'd want to do is potentially put him at risk against a team that you may end up blowing out come Sunday, and which just ends up being a meaningless point for him even to be involved. And you can make something potentially worse when we're only 3 weeks away from the playoffs.
Yeah. I get it. It's gonna be interesting. Like what I would hate to see happen is if we sit a bunch of guys because we should win, should be cakewalk, and then what if it's not? Like, what if we end up losing or you're like, dude,
look.
Like, I mean, I don't even want to talk about that. I'm just more just like thinking, like,
I get the thoughts. I get the thought process. Like I said, imagine the euphoria if the Chargers should end up blowing this game. But if it was one of those, like retrospect 2020 perspective, I mean, really, like I said, as I sit now, the Chargers should not need Derwin James on defense to win this game. That should be true now, and it should also be true if Monday happened to come and for some reason at all, God forbid, that the Chargers lost. That fact should still be true.
Mm-hmm.
I know we were all really torn apart from what happened because of the secondary and the people that were in place during the Thursday night game and what Patrick Mahomes was able to do to the secondary in that short period of time in the fourth quarter. But Patrick Mahomes ain't playing this week. Not against the Chargers, he's not.
Neither is Tyreek Hill, neither is Kelsey.
It's a big difference. So I'm not worried about it. Give Derwin James as much time as possible to get himself healthy.
Shout out to SoCal Slime with the Derwin James picture. 3 lightning bolts, bolt up. Got to answer all these questions, Jake. Jeremy wants to know where we've been at.
Where we've been at? Well, if we're talking about last Thursday, I was at a bottle of 4 Roses and up in my feelings. Other than that, I've kind of been busy. I won't lie, but that's where I've been. So apologies if I've been gone too long.
Yep. Where have we been at? So, I mean, honestly, we've been here. It has been kind of a hectic week, holidays. We apologize we haven't had more episodes. We've had some announcements that have gone out. We've had to, Jake, you ready for it? We've had to bump some things off to the sidelines because we've had some other things we got to take care of. There's been a lot of
nice pun there, by the way. Nice.
Yeah,
pun
there's been a lot of sympathy cravings that I've had since this team's loss, where I'm sitting here thinking man, I could go for some carne asada fries. It's been a rough week after this Chargers loss against the Chiefs, which I still can't. I went back and watched. I'm like, man, we should have won that game. But no, we're here now, going up against the Texans.
You got any more puns? I thought you were just going to keep going with them.
Oh, we have a whole rest of the episode. We can continue to go if you'd like.
Okay, I want to see how many you have.
No, I
want to see how many
I have
you come
now
up
and the end of the episode are going to be completely off the cuff because I haven't even thought about this. But sure, we'll try it.
Okay, fair enough. Well, you're already at 2, so keep going.
Woo. Okay. So then he comes in and says, K9 was so trash. Dude runs 15 yards past the quarterback on a pass rush. You'd think he's running a sprint. He'd rather have Tillery out there before K9. Man. Who would you rather have? Would you rather have Tillery or Kenneth Murray on the edge?
Dan, one of the few times that I'll actually give Jerry Tillery credit. I mean, what we've seen right now from Kenneth Murray from the edge position has barely even showed up, has barely even made a dent. Yes. So if Kenneth Murray was to have a breakout game, it would be under optimal conditions like this against a 3-11 team that could have 4 of its 5 offensive linemen out for this game. So all the tea leaves and the opportunity would be there for Kenneth Murray. But if you're to tell me right now, who would I rather have coming off the edge? It's Jerry Tillery, no question. K9 still has something to prove. And I think maybe for his own sake, given the circumstances of the depth hit at defense for pass rushers for the Chargers and possibly for the Houston Texans offensive line, hey, I'll love it if I end up seeing production from him from the edge this week.
Yep. Anything else on? Okay, this is not me being an a-hole. From a Chargers perspective, what makes you nervous going up against this Texans offense?
Dan, I had it. It's their biggest offensive weapon is Brandon Cooks.
Right. Okay,
that's the only thing that even remotely scares me. But that's it. That's really it.
Okay. So
normally you would probably have me breaking down a lot more different scenarios, getting really in depth, talking about certain coverage, talking about who to look out for. I hit you with a bunch of stats. Brandon Cooks has been the one sole bright spot of this Houston Texans offense.
You don't even get to see Tyrod Taylor. I was actually looking forward to against Taylor.
I was looking forward to it too. And you got to believe that nobody was looking forward to that game more than him if he got the opportunity to play the Chargers again. Mm-hmm. But look, the only thing that outside of that, just don't underestimate a rookie quarterback, please. Just don't do it. That's the other thing. Again, if we're talking. If we were talking that the Chargers had no COVID cases and that this was going to be a full roster on defense, then, why are we even doing a pod in this circumstance? That could be what a lot of people be thinking about right now. But just, there's certain factors here. Your pass rushers have now taken a hit. you know what you know normally what you can't do without Joey Bosa in there until someone decided to step up, i.e. Antonio Nwosu. You already don't have Kyler Fackrell. Now you're down Chris Rump. Now you're relying on just Uchenna Nwosu essentially as your number one pass rusher option, and sprinkle in a little bit of Jerry Tillery along with K9, who essentially hasn't done anything. So you got one healthy pass rusher. Mm-hmm. So you really need the interior of the defensive line to show up on this game, which I think that they can. And then depending on what happens in the secondary, you're going to be spread pretty thin. So there are elements there that could potentially surprise this Chargers defense. But overall, Dan, offensively, no. That other than Brandon Cooks, I'm not terrified of anything from this team.
Okay, let's do a quick analogy, Jake. Going from the Chiefs' offense to the Texans' offense is like going from a Marvel perspective. It's like going from Endgame to what?
Be interested to see which one. Oh, wow. Well, see, now this is for me. I know it's subjective because everybody has their own rankings of the MCU. Everybody has the highly debatable, what's the worst MCU film ever made? There's toss-ups between Thor: The Dark World. Some people really hate Captain Marvel and said that was just a pointless movie. I still don't put it that low. If you were to deem it now technically in the MCU, because Venom is part of it, Venom Let There Be Carnage, I mean, they really went the other direction on that one. Okay. God, it's really hard for me to get over either Thor: The Dark World or Ant-Man and the Wasp would probably be my two choices.
That bad, huh?
Yeah, that's what it would be going from. It's like if you were to watch Infinity War, essentially, and then say, "Hey, what do you want to watch next?" Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yep. Now this is
which is actually okay. It's actually in order, but still, it's just goes from one to the other, and it's not good.
Nope. All right, so switching sides: Chargers offense, Texans defense. Jake, kick us off with the slew of folks who are not playing on these sides.
Oh, good Lord. Okay, so thankfully, Rashawn Slater comes back off the COVID list. Let's talk about some positive COVID news for the Chargers offense. Negatively, Jalen Guyton gets put on the list yesterday. You still have Keenan Allen. You still have Mike Williams. It sounds like this is going to be the Josh Palmer show at wide receiver 3, which was great. So who are they going up against? Dan, this is worse than the offense that I read off. I mean, it's nuts. Literally, aside from Desmond King, ironically, Dan, as I look down this entirety of this list of every starter on the Houston Texans defense, there is an indicator next to their name. It's either out or it's questionable. Jonathan Greenyard, out. Malik Collins, out. Roy Lopez, out. Jacob Martin, out. Eric Wilson, out. Christian Kirksey, out. Eric Murray, out. Justin Reed, questionable. Terrence Mitchell, out. All of these designations are obviously COVID related, essentially.
Okay, so none of them for anything like morning sickness or needing any kind of like, I don't know.
Wow, that's three. That's 3 for Dan. Okay, got it. And then you even look at their second stringers on who they have behind there. It's almost just as bad. So you talk about, like, literally, this is why I really think that there is a possibility that if nothing gets better for the Houston Texans, at least in the next, 24 hours, I see this as a possible game being flexed because literally defensively, Houston may not have anybody to field on this game. It's insane.
No, it's brutal. It's brutal. And look, like at the end of the day, we know like this is the most important part of the season. Houston's already looking for draft stuff. They're already in like the East-West Shrine Bowl, looking at all kinds of stuff. Like Chargers are in the third trimester. They are like at the home stretch. They are trying to figure out a way to get to the playoffs. 3 games left. Chargers offense, Texans defense. This should be no contest. This should be absolutely no contest. Like, put the bun in the oven, set it to 400 degrees, let it ride for, 45 minutes, and you're good to go. This Texans defense sucks. 28th in total yards allowed, 32nd in rushing yards allowed, 25th in scoring, 30th in blitz, 27th in hurries, 24th in missed tackles, 30th in quarterback hits, 29th rushing yards per attempt. Not bueno. 19th, which is, I guess, kind of okay on third down percentage. 29th in the NFL fourth down percentage. Their defense, poo-poo.
At this rate, you're just going to have to call up Keanu Reeves and John Favreau from the replacements and get that whole crew together to come in and play for this team. That's how bad it is. It potentially could be this bad.
No. I mean, look, like if we're talking like comparisons, we're talking about analogies, like the Chargers offense is like a well-oiled machine.
Are you really going to try to give another one right now?
Yeah. We got like Ryan Reynolds. We got like the really cream of the crop of talent, and then we got like folks in binkies on the Texans who are like just getting out of diapers, like trying to figure out how to run. They're still using the cradle. Like they got all kinds of baby food. Like that's the difference in talent. And I'm not being a jerk, but like the Chargers offense is freaking humming right now. Like, remember we talked about the colors Christmas? Like a whole bunch of red, bad for Texans, a whole bunch of green, good for Chargers. Yards per game, Jake, 388 yards per game this Chargers team has. 4th in the NFL. 5th in sack percentage allowed, which when's the last time we talked about a Chargers offense that's giving up the 5th fewest sack percentage in the NFL? Like, what? Also, shout out Rashawn Slater.
It definitely wasn't last year, that's for sure.
Nope. 7th in scoring, 10th in red zone touchdown percentage. And, oh, by the way, Jake, they have the quarterback who is lighting up the world in 2 seasons and was the leading vote getter for the AFC. Starting quarterback in the Pro Bowl. Hopefully he doesn't have to play. Justin Herbert's been absolutely dominating. Already has more touchdowns than last year with 3 games to go. Did we lose Jake? I think Jake lost his audio. Well, if you lost Jake, you just got me. So
now you're back. Now
you're back. Okay, the whole time.
Yeah, now you're back.
TV, the whole time, live TV. You're literally just sitting there and you're looking real cute.
On off.
We were okay. Live TV.
Your audio was terrible there for a second, sir.
No, I think it was yours. Literally, it was both of us. But from my view, I'm sitting here. I'm watching. All I see is you just kind of looking at me. And I'm like,
yeah,
is he going?
I'm wondering if you're going to stop talking, and then I need to be. But I can't tell if you're done talking or if it's just your shitty audio. So I'm waiting to see, is he still talking? Oh, he is still talking. Okay, well,
fair.
Keep ranting, dude, because all you're doing right now is just buying me time.
You're welcome. Okay. But no, I'm done. That's all. Chargers offense much better than Texans defense. We got a lot of questions here in comments. Pacific Beats is going to be there representing, by the way. Shout out. Have fun in Houston. I believe there are a few people. I want to say one of the other podcasts has some folks that are going there too. Drew has a good question. Do you think Justin Herbert will be first team All-Pro? He would have to beat out who? Mahomes, Allen. Is that it for the AFC?
Well, he's the starter currently for the Pro Bowl. So
no, but do you think he'll be All Pro?
I don't think that there's any doubt that he should be in the Chargers circle. But you ask anybody else around the network media people,
don't talk to other.
Of course, they don't believe that. Of course they.
Or will it be Joe? Will it be Joe Burrow? Is Joe Burrow going to be first team All Pro?
Well, I mean, I don't know. If you ask Dan Orlovsky, if you ask Chris Broussard, if you ask Nick Wright, oh God forbid you don't mention Patrick Mahomes' name whenever you talk about quarterbacks, when talking about All Pro, obviously. But it shouldn't be any question, Dan. What he's doing this year, it's a shame that people aren't acknowledging it more. And the fact that, especially with this the Pro Bowl being voted and Justin Herbert being named the starter, for the fact that Chris Broussard actually said this morning on First Things First that it was a fluke and couldn't be true that Justin Herbert got the starter position over Patrick Mahomes, because he was explaining how it's voted upon. The players get a third of the vote, the coaches get a third of the vote, and the fans get a third of the vote. And of course, he tried to take a little nice cheap jab by saying, how the hell did the fans get a vote for the Chargers? Because they don't have any fans to vote for Justin Herbert. Well, you know what? That little football team fan base that's in Los Angeles, we got a pretty loud voice.
Yep. I think honestly, I find it amusing at this point when people talk about the whole no fans thing, because I'm like, how could you have watched that Thursday night game and tell me there are no fans? Like, I don't get it. And then you look at the Pro Bowl voting, you're like, oh, well, that makes sense. The difference, I know, and Drew mentioned this in here, the all-pro voting is not based on fan voting. And I think that's actually
not all.
a good thing. And that's actually a good thing. So, to experts, like, who would not MVP, but like, who would you put ahead of Justin Herbert in the AFC right now? He has all of his stats are better than Mahomes.
You can make a pretty damn good case for what Jonathan Taylor is doing in Indianapolis right now.
No, not MVP. I'm saying all-pro as a quarterback.
Not MVP. Oh, okay. So we're just talking quarterbacks here. We're not talking any.
Because the question was, should he be an all-pro? Yeah. Like, I don't see how he's not. I really don't. Which, Chargers fans, we have a second-year quarterback who was just named the starter for the Pro Bowl, which has not been done in forever. I don't think it was his
even Phillip Rivers didn't get that.
Yep.
Yes, Phillip Rivers never got that. He was in it, but he was never named the starter.
I mean, this kid's got like 70 plus touchdowns and like almost 9,000 yards in less than 2 seasons.
It's pretty impressive, dude. No, when you look through, if you just took the teams right now that you're looking at for the AFC West Conference, just for making the playoffs, is there any quarterback that's better than either Mahomes or Herbert of any of those remaining teams? People will go ahead and make a case for Joe Burrow, and that's fine. He was probably the closest, in my opinion, if you were to take it there. Josh Allen, I really like Josh Allen. I'm a fan of Josh Allen, but I don't think the play has been consistent. Buffalo as a team has definitely slipped this year. They've kind of fallen underneath their expectations. So, however you'd want to balance it, Josh Allen 3, Joe Burrow 3, whatever you want to do. But I don't see any of those guys that are above either what Justin Herbert or Patrick Mahomes is doing.
No, me neither. Jeremy comes in and says that we're riding Mike Williams this week versus that Texans secondary. I would love to see Mike Williams on Desmond King. I think that'd be a fun matchup just for old time's sake.
I love it from that standpoint. Fantasy-wise, I hate it because the guy who I'm playing against has Mike Williams, so that it could be a very big day for him.
Yep. Yep. So again, we'll have the same kind of discussion real quick. Like, what are the Chargers do on offense? Given, we might not have Eckler. Who knows? Lindsley's in the protocol. We have no idea. All of a sudden, Trey Pipkins playing like a serviceable lineman, which shout out to Trey Pipkins.
We didn't get a chance. We didn't get a chance to obviously do a pod recapping the Chiefs game last week. And one of the first things that I would have said if we did was that we all collectively owe Trey Pipkins an apology. And I'd be the first one to say it because I have given Trey Pipkins a laundry list of shit on this show over the past 2 years. And in that type of scenario, for that type of a game, to step up in the way that he did, I was extremely impressed. If that is a sign of something possible to come from the coaches developing Trey Pipkins into that, I'm not saying that that's great that he becomes a starter. No. But if that is a sign of development for him, hey, I'll be all for seeing that more often.
100%. So, any Wait, what do you think this is going to be a game where, like, I would like to see this be a game where we could just like kind of run it down their throats, most of it. Like, I like to see a time of possession game, nothing crazy, like being able to kind of have like an in the trenches game and just kind of will our way to win without having to do anything crazy down the field. Like, unless you want to have fun, but like I think honestly, Eckler, Jackson, Roundtree, like I think our running game has actually gotten much better. I would like to see it just be like a running back tight end game and then like a Keenan Mike when needed.
Yeah. That to me would be a great formula. Dan, there's multiple ways that you can beat this team offensively. Multiple. So I don't think I'm going to be pissed about anything. So
fair. Real quick, let's get to special teams real fast. I do have to say, so it's kind of bizarre, Jake. The Chargers now, ready for it? Rank 17th in yards per kick return. When is the last time we were able to say something like that? Like, we're talking about average here. When is the last time we've been able to say the Chargers special teams coverage is average?
Hire a private investigator and find out, because it's going to take that much work. Seriously.
Dude. And we're not last.
Ask somebody in the chat room. Please.
We're not last.
I would actually love to know the answer. I would love to know that answer, because
when's the
only thing I know about
it
is that it was a long time ago.
Been better than 17th in yards per kick return. Someone let us know.
That sounds like a sneaky hembo type question.
Yes.
But one
currently
that would
27th in punt returns.
It would just be a ridiculous answer.
I will say the Texans do have the 5th best team in terms of yards per kick return. So please, coverage team, hold that up. Otherwise, shout out to freaking Andre Roberts. Todd Miller comes in and says before.
I just saw it before the internet, which is not a bad guess. So before 95, yeah, that's pretty much a good guess. I was going to say, I don't know exactly. I mean, again, I don't know what the average numbers are that we finished, but what was it, 2009, Dan, when Darren Sproles was returning punts, returning kicks? Remember, he had 2, a punt return and a kick return again in that playoff game against Indianapolis. Mm-hmm. So I'm just guessing maybe it was that year when he was our return specialist. I'm guessing maybe that might be
11
the year.
years.
So
that
still has been a long damn time.
11 years.
Yeah.
Good Lord. Drew comes in, believes Justin Jackson is going to have almost 200-yard scrimmage, 175.
Look, Drew, I will hope that if Austin Eckler is out, because I have Austin Eckler on my fantasy team and I just so happen to pick up Justin Jackson, I would love to see a stat line like this from Justin Jackson on Sunday. So if that's the type of good vibes that you're putting out in the universe, keep doing it.
Yeah, and real quick, big next 3 games for Justin Jackson for his career with the Chargers in the NFL. There's been a lot of talk about, should the Chargers keep him? Is he an RB1? Is he even RB2? Like, what is his future for this team? For the most part, he's been more healthy this year than years past. Still not healthy enough to be a reliable RB2. But I think these 3 games are pivotal to see if we are going to see him again in the Chargers uniform. Fast forward, Jake, to the start of the 2022 season. Do you think Justin Jackson is on the Chargers? Let's say he has a good next 3 games. Good, not great, good.
I'd say if he has a good next 3 games, his chances are higher of making this roster next year than they were before. And why do I say that is because when you have Coach Staley coming out and talking about the revolving door at the backup running back position, saying that we're still looking for the second guy, when you have Austin Eckler, your starter, talking about, we're still looking for the next guy, you even hear him coming out and saying comments that he's tired from the bulk of carries that he's gotten this year. So he knows that sometimes, every now and again he needs a break and someone fresh needs to step in. He's obviously no question RB1 for this team, but still, when you've seen the guys that they have circulated through this year, Justin Jackson, Larry Roundtree, Joshua Kelly, Justin Jackson's in a prime opportunity right now. The only biggest issue with him has been his health inconsistencies over the time that he's been with this team. And when he has had the opportunity to flash, some have been there. Most notably, obviously, you could take last week against the Chiefs as the most recent. You can go back to that game in Pittsburgh that he really shined out in. But other opportunities where he's had time to flash, it hasn't been there. So he obviously, number one, needs to stay healthy, and he needs to get more consistent in production. So if he can show that over these next 3 weeks, not only is it better for him, but it's better for the team. Because if you can implement a 2-back system rather than relying on Austin Eckler to be your go-to guy come the playoffs, there's a whole nother dynamic to this Chargers offense.
I agree. I think it's huge. I would love to see Justin Jackson kind of show out the next 3 weeks and kind of put his name on the map here. Before we get into bold and game predictions, Jake, this episode, let's pay the bills a bit. This episode is brought to you by Tick Pick. All right, guys, this is not overselling. You may very well have your last opportunity to see a Chargers home game next weekend going up against the Denver Broncos, division rival. Go to tickpick.com/unleashed. You can arguably probably get the cheapest tickets you have any of the other StubHub, Ticketmaster, whatever. They have no fees. They'll be cheaper than the other ones. I almost guarantee it. Go to tickpick.com/unleashed. Get for your tickets for Chargers game. Show up. Go to Thunder Alley. Have some fun. Again, tickpick.com/unleashed. Jake, you ready?
Bold and game predictions. This one will be interesting and easy.
Go ahead. Let's hear it.
Who cares?
I knew you were going to do this.
Who cares? Just win the damn game. Much like the Giants game, there's no excuses here on why you should potentially lose this game. Out of your last 3 games, this is the easiest one on your schedule. As a matter of fact, I think this is the easiest game that probably the Chargers have potentially played all season as far as their opponents goes. So there's no excuses here. Win the damn game, move on to Denver, and close out this season with a 3-0 record.
Yep. So I guess, I don't know if this is a hot take, but I think we're going to see, I don't know if Chase Daniel's going to be playing. So whoever QB2 is, I think he'll be kneeling down by the end of the game.
For all those Easton Stick enthusiasts that have been wanting to see more of him in the field, this may be their opportunity if the Chargers can get a big enough lead.
Yeah, I would like to see Easton Stick take a knee. That'd be great. We always have optimists and pessimists. So right one after the other. Nathan Judy comes in. Chargers 24, right. Texans 10. Feeling good. Kyle Tucker, his prediction. Jake?
Pain. I know. What, you don't understand that reference? Please tell me you understand that reference.
No. I do. I was waiting for you to say it that way.
Pain.
Pain. Look, Chargers should win this game. This game is their easiest game on their entire schedule. COVID has kind of screwed up a lot of things, but like at the end of the day, this is a must-win game for the Chargers. 8-6, got to go to 9-6. Look, we need this win. Chargers need this win. It's in our own hands at this point. I shouldn't say our hands. It's in their hands. Jake, anything else you want to go over with the good people beforehand? You want to, last chance, folks? Get your bold predictions out there. We can put a few bold predictions here on the show before we go out and end this thing. Jake, anything else before we get into some other folks' bold predictions?
Oh. I was thinking about
Did you watch the UFC fight, by the way?
I did watch the UFC fight. Of course I watched the UFC fight. You know what I do.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Come on. That is a staple of mine during the week when those events are on. There's no question about it. And the wife understands this. She really hates it, though, when there's a UFC event and then football is the very next day.
And then when people need to go and check out UFC and are looking to do some betting, where do you think that they should go?
Yes, good points. So definitely go to MyBookie.ag. If you're looking to do it this weekend, obviously it's the time of giving, so give yourself an opportunity to win a wager. The problem is that the UFC does not have any fights, I believe, coming up this week because obviously Saturday's Christmas. And now with the NHL postponing a lot of their games and whatever's happening with the NBA, I definitely would steer clear of placing any wagers on any of that. So regulate it all to football. Plays a nice little bet. Do a 16-team parlay if you're one of the low wager type people, or if you're like me who like to bet the sure thing and bet a little bit more coin behind it, do it at 3 or 4. Who cares? But give yourself an opportunity. Use the promo code LAFB. Go to mybookie.ag. Do it now. Thank me later, and have a very Merry Christmas.
All right. So bold prediction. Victor Monroy says Justin Herbert's about to go for 6 touchdowns, 450 yards, and 1 rushing touchdown.
So 7 total touchdowns. I mean, look, unless he does all of that in the first half, I would hope that he'd be off the field before he had any opportunity to do that many. So hopefully he does all that in the first half. So he can do it, and then he gets his ass off the field and takes a breather.
I think you're right. Mike Schinkel, I think he may have been outdone by the 6 or 7 touchdowns, but he says 5 passing touchdowns for Justin Herbert. Total of 5 touchdowns, 500 combined yards. He said it technically second, I guess. And yeah, real quick, Drew came in here. Actually, sorry, there's another question that came up. Do you think Austin Eckler will play? What chances do you give him of playing?
The whole thing with Austin Eckler this week has been really weird because we got the notification earlier this week that he was being placed on the COVID list, and then it was the report came out. It was either later that day or the very next day that he was not on the COVID list. So everybody's optimism is like, okay, great. And we heard that he was out on the practice field. And then just yesterday it drops like, okay, now Austin Eckler has been officially placed on the COVID list. I don't know what's happening. I don't know if it was a false negative. I have heard no reports about that whatsoever. Again, we now have to just rely on the new protocols that the NFL put in place last week to hope that if players are asymptomatic, that they can go through a shorter testing phase before they can get back on the field. For me, I hope he wins because I have him in fantasy and I'm in the championship game, so I need him to win. But we'll see. Even if Austin Eckler doesn't play, you should still have no problem against this Houston Texans team.
Agreed. All right. I think that's going to wrap things up for this episode. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in for this one. Chargers playing the Texans in Houston. Must-win game. Chargers need to have this one, and I think they will. Chargers, I predict, Jake, are going to win this game handily. I'm going to go 37-20, and maybe 7 of those points for them are going to come in garbage time. What say you?
It's not a bad one when you consider the garbage time points that could be accumulated. I'll go 41. I'll go 41 because I think that the offense can score quick and can score early against this team, especially if everything ends up going the way it is for Houston right now with the COVID players that are currently on their list. By the first half, this game realistically, like the Giants game, should be over. So I'm going to go 41-21. Garbage time TDs.
Okay. For Jake Hefner, you can find him at Jake T. Hefner on Twitter. Myself at Chargers Homer. You guys, thank you so much. This has been a long year for a lot of people for a lot of reasons. The Chargers are currently 8-6. We have lots to be thankful for. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. We will be talking to you immediately following the Chargers game. Then we'll be talking all things Denver Broncos. We got another episode coming out to you guys here pretty soon. We got something fun that we're working on. So stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, Have a great rest of the afternoon. Enjoy this time with your family, loved ones, or whatever you're doing. Be grateful, be thankful, and we will talk to you soon. Have a great rest of the day. Chargers Unleashed is out till the next one. Bye, guys.